All right, y'all. Late night. Okay. It's a late night stream. I have the time to do it. I just like to get on here. All right. So yeah, since I didn't get on earlier, I said let me get on here tonight for like, maybe half an hour, 40 minutes. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about some fight, some fight stuff. The next 2 weeks we have some good WMMA fights. So yeah, so let me get on here and just get on here for like a half hour, 40 minutes, and just discuss what we got coming up. All right, start here in a few minutes. Yeah, I just want to talk about a few things though. Let's see. Like I said in the title, Valentina Shevchenko, her title defenses. I'm kind of curious as to how far she can go, man. Like with the way she's been so dominant and just the level she's been on, like for her, it shouldn't be a problem for her to break one of these records, in the UFC, which we'll talk about here in a minute. And then I just want to run over the fight schedule for this week. We got a good 4 fights on here, 4 WMMA fights. If everything goes right. So we got, let's see, 4 fights on this Anthony Smith Ryan Spann card. And let's see, yeah. Then I just want to talk about Taylor Santos a little bit. Taylor Santos and her growth into the top 10. If she beats Roxanne Modafferi, is that going to be enough to be a challenge for Valentina Shevchenko? I just want to talk about her growth. Because even how I look at it now, I have to see how dominant she can be for sure against her next couple of opponents before she gets a title opportunity. Before I actually say like she give Valentina a really really competitive fight. Right now, she definitely looks like a potential threat. But we have to kind of see what she looks like against some top 10 fighters before we actually say, oh, this is the biggest, this is gonna be the biggest challenge for Valentina. So I just want to talk about what type of growth needs to be seen in Taylor Santos, not only in this fight coming up, but just some of the things that she needs to fight a fighter like Valentina. You know, we got to kind of go down some keys to make her just to kind of talk about as a fighter. And to make y'all understand how I see her as one of these threats in the flyweight division, not just for the champion, but for anybody's spot. You know what I mean? Because you got so many flyweights now um, in the top 10, that aren't necessarily screaming for a title shot. Their spots are under fire. They're under fire by these, up and coming prospects in the flyweight division, right? You know, so yeah, that was something I was just kind of thinking about today. But what else here? Casey O'Neill, man, like the more and more I just kind of look at Casey O'Neill and her fire, her momentum right now. I think that she has a good chance to beat Antonina Shevchenko. So this is a fighter you can't. This is a fighter she can't count out. This is a fighter she can't just go in there. Antonina think is a soft touch. Because all these unranked flyweights, they seem to be dangerous, man. I'm talking about everybody from Manon, Melissa Gatto, Casey O'Neill. All these fighters, Jillian Robertson. They have some tough. They have some toughness about them and some danger factors that you just can't count out. So let's talk about that, and we'll talk about Jinyu Kim wanting to go to BKFC. I know Jinyu Kim, she had addressed about going to BKFC. So that might be an option for her. I mean, she does have the style for that. So we'll talk about that. But yeah, let's jump back up here to Valentina Shevchenko, man. Mark Robertson, what's up? He said, hang on one second. Mark Robertson said, flyweight has so many mini bosses before you get to Valentina. It's a tough road for sure. It is, man. It's tough. It's a tough road. It really is. So real quick, let's look at Valentina Shevchenko. She's been coming along nicely, in this division. I think she's finally found, a nice little home where she can just kind of dominate, showcase her skills. And, I think that, you know, one of the things she does want to do is before she retires is move back up to 135 and get that Amanda Nunes rubber match. But to me, honestly, I think she could retire without it. That's just a fight that she just couldn't win. And, it was so close even in the second fight, could have gone either way that I don't think much is going to change in the third fight or fourth fight where I think she showcased enough of what she has, to me, like to make her hold down her spot. It's just going to be one of those things. Nunes and Shevchenko are going to kind of share that top. I still have Nunes as number one, but it's just one of those things, And where Shevchenko is sitting right now at number two pound for pound overall, and being one of the most dominant champions today in the flyweight division, I think that's a good place to sit. That's a good place to sit. So the more I just kind of look at Valentina Shevchenko and study her, man, more and more I look at the opposition she has, and just the level she puts herself on, and just the way she dedicates herself to training. It's very much possible, man. She could go for title. She could go for title defense number 10. I mean, people might think it's crazy to try to jump that far ahead because she's just going into her number six. But Shevchenko could make it to 10 easy. I think. I think she could make it to 10 easy. Or I think she could even break the record. With the competition she has in her division, and again, like I said, the dedication she shows as a fighter. I think she could very much. I think she could break that title defense record. Who holds that anyway? Let me pull that up real quick while we're here. Let's see. Record for most title defenses. And that's Demetrius Johnson. Yep. I was right. I was thinking Demetrius. I was thinking Silva. So I mean that's not too far off. I mean she'll be what, a little more than halfway there if she beats Lauren Murphy, right? So she could easily get into that realm. Of course she would be the first woman with that title defense record either. And I think she would hold that. She would submit that thing for a while. I mean, she's tied right now with Joanna, right? Joanna's had her 5 title defenses in the strawweight division. So, with Valentina tied there, she's about to break the record for women, the women with the most title defenses, and then she's going to be entering that realm, trying to catch up or either tie with some of the men, right? So that's something to shoot for. And like I said, I talked about another live stream. Not every fighter is going to have a super fight or be like a superstar. Some fighters just don't have that super fight because the fans don't back them like that. I think to be a super fighter, to have a super fight, you got to have like a huge fan base, which I'm surprised Valentina Shevchenko don't. Like, she got the hardcore fans, all day long, but she just doesn't have like the Ronda Rousey backing or even the Holly Holm backing to a certain extent. She just doesn't have that fan base, and she doesn't have an opponent with a big fan base either to give her a super fight. But she could definitely go down as a memorable fighter, known to be one of the best WMMA fighters of all time. Which to me that alone that's an excellent way to go out. Even if you don't get a super fight, I mean, hey, that is money, but she's still getting money from these fights. And you get to be the dominant fighter, right? So I think that's still a good thing. Um, oh, Gordon, what's up? He said I think she's near to breaking the records of Joanna and Ronda. Yeah, she's definitely breaking Joanna's record because Joanna's at 5 right now. Like I said, yeah, Joanna's at 5 right now. But Ronda, yeah, let's look at Ronda because they were the other two dominant champions, right? I don't want to forget Ronda Rousey's record too, because that was a dominant reign, right? So I know off top for sure Joanna was at 5 because she got stopped by Rose when she was going in her 6th. So let's look up Ronda Rousey just to make sure here. They're the top dominant champions. You know, they've been the most dominant, consistent champions, Ronda and Joanna. You know, they were kind of around at the same time, and then they both kind of fell off at the same time. Let me see here. Let's see here, y'all. Yeah, because he's definitely in the right division right now to break that record. Because competition is good, but it's not the greatest, especially the way she, moves herself. So let's see. Because the Liz Carmouche fight that was for the belt, right? That was the inaugural fight. So she defended 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. Ronda Rousey ain't got no 8 title defenses. Yeah, Ronda didn't have 8 title defenses. Joanna had 5, and she had 5 because she beat Liz Carmouche in the very first UFC fight, for women, and then she defended against Misha Tate, right? And then Sarah McMahon, Alexis Davis, Kat Zingano, and Betch Coare. Then she lost it to Holly Holm. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So she's tied. They both tied. Joanna and Ronda both have 5 title defenses. So Valentina is on her way to breaking that, in a couple weeks. If she beats Lauren, but she can. No, Valentina doesn't have 8 either. Valentina only has 5 right now. Valentina's on her way to break there. That's what I was talking about. Like I think she could get to 8. I think she could definitely get to 8. My point is in this video she could get to 10. As long as she, just stays on her game and never loses dedication. I mean, which she never looks like she is. I think she'll get there. But yeah, Valentina's on number 5 right now. She won the belt she won the inaugural belt with Joanna, right? Then she defended against Jessica Ai, Liz Carmouche, Caitlin Chikag, Jennifer Maya, and Jessica Andrade. That's 5. So yeah, she's on her way to number 6 right now. Number 6 will be Lauren Murphy. So with that, there's really nothing that's stopping her because let's see. She breaks theirs. John Jones, he's had 8. John Jones, he's defended his title about 8 times, before, he had given up his belt. George St. Pierre, GSP, he's hit like 9 or 10. I would say 9. Then I remember Anderson Silva, he hit 10. And the fighter with the highest is Demetrius Johnson with 11. Before he left, before he lost it, he left. So Demetrius Johnson, he's holding it down with 11 title defenses. And like I said, for very good reason, I think Shevchenko can make it there. With her, her skill set, being so well rounded and just so dominant, she's prepared for every single style. And I think Shevchenko is just like the perfect model for what every champion has to be. I mean, same with Amanda Nunes, same with Demetrius Johnson. I mean, if you go back and look at why these fighters have title defenses, pouring out the ears like this, pouring over and just racking up wins is because they got all their bases covered. These fighters have their bases covered. They're well rounded. Like they're not great at every single thing, but they're good. They're good where they need to be. They're good. They're good at wrestling. They're good at jiu-jitsu. They're good at striking. Of course, they have their one thing that they like to go to, but all of these fighters have more than one tools. They have more than one tool. They have more than one skill set. And I think that's what made every single one of these fighters dominant and champion for so long. That's what made them all so consistent. So Valentina could easily hit 10 because every single style that comes her way, I think she'll have an answer for right now. I think she'll have a answer for every single style. I mean, after seeing what she did in the masterpiece with Jessica Andrade, it was like, wow, like who's gonna crack the code? Lauren Murphy thinks she can, but I don't know, man. This is just a this is gonna be definitely the toughest fight of her career. And I don't think Lauren Murphy has an answer for some of these things that Valentina brings to the table. They're both on winning streaks, but Valentina's so much more dominant than her. Hang on one second. Oh, got some comments here. Mark said Valentina has alluded before that this isn't a job for her. So, like, she could legit fight until 38 to 40. She takes almost no damage. She's one of the best defensive fighters in MMA. Yeah, you make a good point, man, Mark. I mean, it's like, yeah, like it doesn't seem like work to her. Like, it doesn't seem like work like it does with some fighters. Like, they have to get up, they have to get in a mode to spar, to do certain types of training. But you know, MMA is like life to her, and I think when it's life to you, I think you treat it with so much more compassion. You treat it with a passion. You treat it with so much more compassion, and you treat it like a baby. You want it to grow. You want it to be better than you every day. And I think that Shevchenko, her approach is how a lot of the greats have thought about it. There's a time in John Jones, he was like that. Anderson Silva was like that. Demetrius Johnson was like that. Floyd Mayweather, he's like that. All of those great ones, they all they treat it like life. It ain't like work. I think when you treat it like work, there's a point where you get tired of it. But if it's something you love and you like to develop and get up and face it every single day, then it's something that it's just something you'll think of as much more than just a job. And that's why she doesn't take too much damage with it, because she doesn't just think of it as work, and she doesn't think of it as fighting. She thinks of it as like a martial art. Like, how can I make myself better than the next person? You know what I mean? Like, martial arts, being a martial artist and being a fighter is like almost two different things. You know what I mean? Like, being a fighter, that's a part of it. But being just like a fighter, somebody just goes out and just takes blows. That's one thing. But a martial artist, you're perfecting your craft. If it's hit not get hit, you really want to be that. Defense is like your number one, and that's why she could fight well into her late 30s and 40s. She could fight in her early 40s, because like just 75% of Valentina Shevchenko beats a lot of the flyweights, right? Just 75% of what she brings beats a lot of the flyweights 100%. You know, Definitely one of the best defensive fighters. Though. Mojo said 10 is achievable. At 2 fights a year, that will put her at 35, 36. So, yeah, yeah. And I think 35, 36, she would still be prime. Yeah. Yeah, no, she doesn't have eight. He says 8 fight win streak. I'm thinking of, yeah. Well, it's like seven. Oh, is it 7 or 8? It's 8 fights she's won, yeah. So Cachoeira and Joanna, and then her title defenses, right? So yeah, she's had 8 fights at flyweight, yeah. hmm But yeah, she defended the belt 5. Daniel Avery said Valentina's mother still competes in martial arts. So that says a lot. Yeah, yeah. I think, man, when you think of it as like a martial art and not just fighting and work, you can do it all. I think you could do it for life. You know what I mean? You could do that for life. Like, you see these, you see these temples with martial artists, the monks still practicing. You can still do that stuff for life, man. Because they're not taking a lot of punishment. Valentina doesn't come here to take a lot of punishment. I think if she does get hit, she'll come back and hit you harder. But her main goal is defense, and that's why she's always winning. It's defense and dominance with Valentina. And I think that's what a lot of these other fighters don't have, deep dominance. The dominance factor is a big part of running your division. You know, it's not just one fight at a time. It's like the big picture. Valentina has a big picture. So with that, you can't help but say she's going to win this coming Saturday. You know, it's just all in how she does it. And if she beats Lauren Murphy, you know, the number 3 flyweight with 5 on a 5 fight winning streak, who else is there right now? I mean, like I said, a triple threat, the potential in these fighters coming up. But you know, I could see them being champion maybe one day, like if Valentina wasn't there for sure. But do they have enough right now to defeat her? You know what I mean? So being a threat, that's one thing, but actually having the keys to beat her, that's another. You know, so the more and more I just go back and look at her fights, I was like, man, like she'll reach 10, and she'll reach 10 in a heartbeat, man. Or she'll reach 10, you know, because she's so active. You know, that's another point. Like she's active, she likes to fight. You know, she likes to come. You know, she likes to take on her opponent. You know, she doesn't make us wait. You know, I'm sure Valentina will be fighting like early. I could say maybe even after this fight, she'll probably be fighting in February or March again. You know what I mean? Going for that number 7. And I think the closer she gets to number 10, she will want to be more active. You know, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Like you don't have too many fighters with her mentality. But like I said, those are like the 2 keys: that dominance and defense. You know, being a defensive fighter and a dominant fighter is what really makes her run this division the way she does. You know. Mark said Valentina has the luxury of being far better than the rest of the division, but the competition will catch up eventually. These new girls will push each other to the next level. Every dog has a day. Yeah, I believe that. I believe that. I mean, like, yeah, the right time, you know, the right time and the right person that learns the right things and the right tools and the right mindset of being dominant. You know, yeah, somebody will come along. I believe that. I truly believe that. Like some people argue with me on that. Like I've had people argue with me on that last year. I used to say that like somebody will come along and beat her if she stays in here, you know, for a certain amount of time. Whenever you know, like yeah, like you said, like the evolution comes along. You know, as the fighters do get better and they start to evolve in different ways, which is just something you can't help. You know what I mean? Like there's always going to have somebody coming along that evolves in a different way. I do believe that. I do believe that somebody will come along and give a tough fight, but you know, the question is who will it be? You know, if Valentina beats Murphy, Mark said she'll have beat number 1 through 4 in the division plus 8. If Grasso beats JoJo, she might get a title shot because only rematches exist for Val. Yeah, and if Grasso beat JoJo, oh man, I would hate to see her going there with the title shot right off of that fight. Like, I mean, it would make sense because yeah, it would be the only fight that Val didn't have next to JoJo. Oh man, um, and then you never know what could happen. Val, excuse me, not Val, but if what happens with Taylor beating Roxy? Like, man, like where's she gonna fall in there? Mark said if Andrade beats Calvillo, that becomes even more likely. Yeah, the rematch might come with that. Yeah, I think it's too soon too for Grasso because she's just coming up at number 10. I think Grasso would have to fight Caitlin Chikagian though, in my opinion. You know, that's a fight Caitlin been calling for. So I think if Grasso beats JoJo, she'll get Caitlin. Does Val have the mystique of Ronda Rousey? I don't think so. She was stopped. She was stopped way before people expect. Does Val have the mystique? I don't think so. No, no. I think Valentina has so much more when it comes just to being a martial artist than her, and so much more when it comes to discipline and mental strength. You know, there's so much more. Like Ronda just had a character. You know, Ronda had that character that a lot of people like. You know, she had the dominance about her, but she didn't have the growth. You know what I mean? Like whenever uh, the striking element came into play, she didn't have that type of growth there. you know. So yeah, yeah, like overall Valentina was just much is still much more of a better fighter to me. Dominant. Oh, BJ, no filter. What's going on, man? Doing a late night, man. I'm on a break here, so I said let me go ahead and let me do some after hours here. Just doing some after hours chat, BJ. So yeah, I think Valentina will make it to 10, man. But man, like, and that's if it, with the right people. Well, that's what those right people that she's fighting right now. Those ones that just don't know how to grow and just stay on that level, man. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. Um, Not necessarily crazy, like unbelievable crazy, but I mean it'll just be like a big crazy. It'll be a big milestone for her. But yeah, with that being said, too, man, like let's think about it though. Like the longer she does stay around, like how many other fighters out there are really like evolving though, like in the division? Like how many are really showing that hunger? Well, the three I call out, I think they are. Which I want to talk about Taylor in this one a little bit. Taylor Santos, to me, Taylor Santos, I think that she is one. I think she is definitely one of the three. I feel has some attributes now, and the more and more she, gets gets her fights. More and more she can stay active, and the matchmakers can get her fights. I think that Taylor Santos' growth, after this fight and maybe another couple fights, she will have something that could be prompts for Valentina. But we'll see if it's enough, right? Because that's what I was talking about last night too. Taylor Santos, is going to have dominance. She's going to have dominance just like Valentina. That she's gonna have that assertiveness to say, look, I'm not backing down. I'm not gonna over respect you. I'm here to take that belt. You're not gonna do anything about it. You know, she's gonna have that type of that type of assertiveness about it. Mo just said Calvillo, if she beats Andrade, if she beats Calvillo, if she beats Andrade, Calvillo, if she beats Andrade, maybe next. But if not, then who do you think will be next? If she is still champ when Manon comes along, that would be a good fight. Yeah, that's gonna be a darn good fight, man. That's gonna be a good fight. It's about is superior skill, but my point is about perception. These fighters are flesh and blood. Yeah, yeah, of course they are. Of course they are. Yeah. Um, you have to go back and listen to some of my other videos. Like the point of this one is talking about how she can reach. Like I've always been one of the first people to say, like, you hear some of my other videos, Daniel, like, before you probably subscribe to me, I already talked about Valentina and her not being her. She's not invincible. Let me put it that way. A lot of people out there get so caught up on Valentina when they're fans of her. Excuse me. All right, fix stuff here. Yeah, so a lot of people mistake greatness and they mix up greatness and invincibility or something. People think that she's invincible. They think she's perfect. No, not me at all. I think she's definitely working towards greatness. But to be great, doesn't necessarily mean you're perfect. Like great in the fight game does not mean perfect. You have to take an L here and there, and you have to have some type of weakness to perfect. To know how good you are. And if you can surpass those certain characteristics, that some fighters have, if you can cross those certain lines and pass certain tests, then yeah, you'll be considered great. But nobody's invincible. Nobody's perfect. My point is here though is with the way she's moving and the way with other fighters in the flyweight division are moving, Valentina has a great chance of getting the 10th title defense. Same way Demetrius Johnson got to 11. Is Demetrius Johnson perfect? No. Is he invincible? By no means. But what he had at the time when he had that title was dominance. He had dominance. Same way Valentina does. Like, does anybody else have that characteristic in them in the division to stop her from getting to 10? That's my point. Like, maybe, but right now, just the way you see the rest of the top 10 looks, the rest of the top 10, the way they look right now, and the way Valentina looks, being on her own level, she could get to 10. She could definitely get to 10. But no, nobody, by no means, nobody's perfect. No. Mark said people thought Joanna was unbeatable. Then along came Rose. Yeah, I never thought that. I never thought that. I picked Rose to win that fight by knockout. I bet on that. That's one. That's one fight. Like Ronda Rousey, I won that one and that one because I knew they had the keys. With this one here, like with Valentina, speaking safely on it, having watched her whole career and watched their whole careers, I knew when they were about to lose a fight. But like with Valentina, I don't know right now. That's why I'm like speaking on this like title defense thing. Like Ronda Rousey, I said, oh, Holly got this. I said Holly got the perfect style, and I won that. I won that one. And then whenever Rose came along, I said, okay, I know what Rose is going to do, and I won that one. But like they never looked unbeatable to me. Like they never looked like well-rounded fighters like Valentina. Joanna didn't. Joanna was just really, really good at the two things she does. Takedown defense and her striking. Now her ground game is probably there, but she never used it. But she was never unbeatable to me. Ronda Rousey, same thing with her, never unbeatable. But the thing about Valentina is people think she's bulletproof, but she doesn't think she's bulletproof. That's why she works. That's why she trains the way she does. You train to cover all bases. If you were bulletproof or if you were perfect, you wouldn't have to train, right? But nobody is perfect. That's why you train for perfection, right? And like you said, everybody has a weakness, right? That's why you're always working on your weakness. Like it's her fans that think she's perfect or think she's bulletproof, but her, she doesn't think that. No, that's why she works as hard as she does. She's working that hard. She's working that hard to cover all bases. Some people don't cover those bases. That's why when it when it comes down to get thick in there, she's always prepared. You know? Yeah, one yeah, one round. Yeah, Jennifer Maya really only had one round. He said a bigger flyweight grappler could get hold over 3 or 5 rounds to get a decision. Yeah, so back to Taylor though, back to Taylor Santos and her growth. She could have I think she could come up with a few good things. She fights a couple more fights, and works on the right things and works on the right strengths to get in there with Valentina. I think Taylor's growth is very, very important right now. I think she's at a stage in her career now that she has a top 10 fighter. It's very important that she grows in the right way. Like I think Taylor Santos has to really, really be educated on fighting physical fights. I think she has to use what she has, use those strengths. She has to use that size, that athleticism. And now's the time for her to be growing in those departments. You know what I mean? Like she has to grow in the areas that she feels are better that Valentina is weak at. You know, like you have to start training for that type of stuff. This is where she is. She has to grow in these departments. She has to make sure that she approaches Valentina in a fit. She could approach Valentina in a physical way, but also in an educated way. And I think she's got to get that practice against Roxy. Against Roxanne Modafferi. You go in there against Roxanne Modafferi. Approach it like a Val fight. I mean, styles make fights, but I mean, you got to approach it like that. Fight her in a way where you use that physical strength, but in an educated manner. You know, knees to the body, uh, inside fight, no outside fight, because everybody knows, Valentina's gonna control the outside. She controls the outside. You got to be an inside fighter with Valentina. To me, you got to attack the body. You have to offset her feet so she can't get into a stance to, land the best strikes or even land kicks. You have to keep it pressed. You got to keep it pressed. You got to know how to pace yourself. So now's the time to start, building in those departments. Like build off of what Jennifer Maya could do for one round, but be able to do that at least 4 rounds. Yeah, because this is gonna be a good fight for Taylor Santos. You know, um, definitely gonna be a time for her to grow. Because, like I said, I think the other night I was saying I think that she definitely has some. She has some things that Alexa Grasso doesn't have that I think could make it very interesting if she got a title shot. I think she has the body and she has the body and the size for flyweight. The flyweight division more so. I think Taylor Santos could be a bantamweight one day, but yeah, I think that at flyweight right now, I think she's a much uh more, she looks more physically imposing than somebody like Alexa Grasso. That's why I put her on a triple threat, and I think she can grow and become something a little bit more than Andrade or even Jennifer Maya, and then eventually get a title shot and make it a tough fight for Valentine. You never know what could happen. Yeah, Erin Blanchfield's one to watch. She's one to watch. I've been watching her for a while. Yeah, Erin Blanchfield been in. She's been in it for a while. Like I think I seen her when she was like 18. Yeah, I think I seen her like 17 or 18. Yeah, that's when I first seen her fighting. And she came through in Invicta at an early age, like 19. Um, she was beating girls. She was beating some of the good names in Invicta FC. So I'm ready to see what she can do this Saturday. But I think she's fighting at 135, right? Okay, let's see. Mark Robinson said, I don't see a striker taking Valentina down. It's almost certainly got to be a grappler. Yeah, it's got to be a grappler. It's got to be a grappler that has striking, though. It's got to be a grappler that has some striking attributes. You got to be able to have a jab. You got to be able to hit her back, too. You still got to have timing. You still got to have punches, I think. I think a lot of wrestlers, when they develop jabs, they become they become better fighters. They become more dominant fighters. I think as a grappler, it's got to be a grappler with uh with still some type of striking ability. Where I was watching that what was that BJ Penn and Shirk fight, that rematch, and BJ Penn had a beautiful jab in that fight. Beautiful jab, like grappler, but he was like striking so beautifully. You know what I mean? Like his jab was just so nice in that fight. So I think like that's a very important part of it. Still, like it's gonna take a grappler. It's gonna take a physical fighter to beat Valentina, but you got to have hands too, though. George Handler said, but Ronda and Joanna were basically one trick ponies. It was just a matter of the wrong matchup. Yeah, yeah. I don't think Joanna was necessarily a one trick pony, but Ronda, of course, was. She depended on one thing. And that's what I was talking about probably before you got in here. I think that they 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 were dominant against the right matchups. They were dominant against the right matchups. And to me, I never saw them as just being unstoppable. It's like Mike Tyson, man. Like Mike Tyson. Like I seen Mike Tyson get beat one day because I knew like the other tools of boxing. Like if there's a guy who can put everything together in boxing, they'll beat Mike Tyson. Like when Mike was around, he was knocking so many people out. But the minute Mike Tyson fights a guy that's not going to fall from his knockout punch or his left hook, it's going to be a long night. It's gonna be a long night. Robert Henry, he said that's what people missed about her statements after the Andrade fight. Valentina was saying that there's no area of weakness in her because she covers it all. Not believe, not believe she can't lose. Right, right. Yeah, you work for perfection. You're not perfect, but you work to cover everything. You know what I mean? Like she trains, she trains because she's not perfect. Let's put it that way. She trains because she's not bulletproof. You train to cover every basis, like I said earlier. You train to cover every single basis. You don't go in there with this mentality that I'm perfect. You go in there with part of it being fear to always say, oh man, like I have to cover this. I have a fear that I might get hit to the body, so I got to work on my defense to the body. I got to work on. I might get taken down by a grappler. So I've got to cover bases. We got to do take down defense drills. All that has to be covered. Why? Because you're not perfect, right? To make it look easy, you got to work hard. To make it look easy, you got to work hard. I say it again, to make it look easy, you got to work hard. Mark said it's not just the opponents, but also their coaches. With Rose had beaten JJ and Whaley without a decent coach, it only takes one coach to find and exploit a weakness. It depends, yeah. It depends. It depends. I think coaches definitely come into play to a certain extent, but you need the right fighter too. Definitely. You're the only one that go in there, and to me, it always comes down to execution. You know what I mean? Like you can tell somebody all day, you can train them all day, but it comes down to perfect execution. And if the fighter is not executing, then you won't get it. Like a trainer, you can tell you can tell your fighter all day that, oh, Wei Lee does this. Wei Lee's gonna shift her hips if you do this, or Wei Lee's gonna drop her hands. Wei Lee keeps her hands down, but if you don't execute it, that's no good. I still think it's a big part. The fighter, they'll figure it out for themselves too if they watch the tapes. Like I think like Wei Lee, not Wei Lee, but even the fight with JJ, same thing kind of happened there. I think Rose had to have it's part of her doing too because she's sitting down watching tapes too. It's a part of her style too. This is how she approaches the game as well. But yeah, it definitely takes a good coach to call certain things out because they're watching ringside and they do a lot of homework too. But I just say, hey, it's all about execution. Though. Person in the octagon executes. Of course, said that when it comes to holes, sometimes it doesn't mean much. Whaley kicked Rose's legs a lot. Amanda kicked Valentina's legs and torso a lot, but Rose and Val were stopped by the kicks. Are those holes? Are they holes if you get kicked a lot? Hmm. Let me see. To me, it's a hole. I think it's to me really. I would say it's a hole if if you got if your opponent was able to make some type of effectiveness happen out of it. Like, let's go back to Whaley versus Joanna. Whaley versus Joanna. When Joanna was able to kick Whaley with those same kicks to the jaw like Rose did, that was a hole. May have not dropped her, knocked her out, but that was a hole because you saw what it did. It was effective, right? She did open up a hole, but I think certain extents, not everything means it's a hole because certain things are going to get through. You know, as long as you're covering as long as you're covering the right basis at the right time, That's what matters. I think something's always going to get through. You know, that's why I say you train for everything. Like certain leg kicks, yeah, they'll get through. Like Whaley hitting Rose with those leg kicks, I wouldn't really call that a hole. I really wouldn't call that a hole in her game. Now, the way Jessica Andrade was like tearing up Rose's body in that, what was that? The second? No, the first fight. That was a hole. That was a hole because she exposed a weakness and she took Rose's legs away. That was a hole to me. I think something is called a hole whenever you're able to like capitalize off of it and expose some weakness out of it. Like Whaley kicking Rose in the legs like a few seconds of a round or maybe just a minute. That wasn't really a hole because she didn't capitalize off of it. Nothing came of it. I just don't really think much came of that round. Like a lot of people talk about that round and, go back and forth on it. All I saw was exposure in there and then Rose capitalizing off her hole, her weakness. You saw her hole in her game, you know, wide open chin. But if you go back to what you said there, Amanda kicking Valentina's legs and body a lot. If the next person can look at that and say, okay, maybe that's something I can, work with, you could kind of see that as a whole. But it all kind of depends on like the situation on it. Like it just kind of depends on how you're able to use it. Like I think Juliana Pena probably showed somewhat of a hole in Valentina's game about like the physical aspect of it. Being very physical with Valentina. Pressing her to the cage. Attacking her body, getting her out of her striking stance. Those were some holes in the game. You know what I mean? But they're very very small because she's gonna cover it up and compensate with other things. But everything, like some defensive holes in people's games, some holes are going to be gaping, and then others are just going to be tiny. Like yeah, there's tiny little holes in Valentina's game, but she can, some of her other things are airtight. That's why she's able to cover all bases. Like I keep going back to, like she's able to she's able to stop you from exposing because she's stronger in another department. George Handler said, at this point, I'm not concerned about Bullet getting out fought. I'm more worried about something fluky happening. Yeah, I'm not even really worried about anything fluky happening at this point. Like, unless somebody has the right thing that comes along, somebody that has it. Yeah, anybody that beats Valentina, I think they'll have to give her a rematch because she's definitely earned it. She's definitely earned it. Mark said, I'm not saying she won't deserve it. I'm just saying the chances of the Bullet loses twice in a row are not high. Yeah, she'll definitely deserve it, and pretty much, yeah, you could say that on that second one, she'll probably figure it out. Going to the coach definitely matters. Rose was terrible. Ronda was terrible for her striking. But Antonina is married to the great coach Pablo and all that successful. Yeah, 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 man. Uh, what else though? I'm gonna have to get up out of here in a minute. That topic was a little bit longer than I wanted, but yeah, not much I was gonna talk about anyway. I just wanted to get on here because I was looking at her title defenses and what she's got lined up. Casey O'Neill, real quick, man. Casey O'Neill, just looking at her momentum and her training right now, I think Antonina Shevchenko has really got to go in there and she's got to go in there and do work, man. Antonina Shevchenko. Now that you bring her up, she has to go in there and get her respect back, man. Because a lot of these fighters are not respecting her. A lot of these fighters don't respect her style. I think Casey O'Neill's gonna be one of those fighters that goes in there come fight night, and she's gonna press Antonina. She's gonna want to do what everybody else does and make her fight. And looking at Casey O'Neill right now, I seen like just her ability to press and clinch and take it on the take a fight to the inside. I think that's really going to disrupt Antonina Shevchenko. I think Casey O'Neill has a good chance in this one, man. I think she does just because of the way she's riding higher, and Antonina uh, is kind of in a place like, well, I fight, I still want to fight. I got the fire to do this. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Antonina won the fight. Just because she has faced better opposition. It's just all in has she learned from it. Has she learned from it, and does she want to fight? Which is the most important part of this, right? Does she want to fight? Because if you don't want to fight, even if you have the skills, you'll lose, right? Because you're not going to come in there hungry. You're going to come in there, wide open, not focused, while the person who may lack skills is focused and hungry, and they beat you. So yeah, that's what I just wanted to say about Casey O'Neill. Like, I think she has a good chance, and if she gets this win, man, it's going to give her it's probably going to give Casey O'Neill uh, a top 15 opponent next. So Antonina got to be on her game because I think that Casey O'Neill right now is is dangerous for her. Is very dangerous. She doesn't really have like great skills, like Manon Firo to me. Like if this was Manon versus Antonina, I'd be like, oh wow, I'd actually be nervous for Antonina in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? I'd be nervous for her in a lot of ways. But with Casey O'Neill, I think she has a good chance, but she just can't sleep on it. Can't sleep on it, man. Oh man, Whew. Getting late out here. But shout out to everybody in the chat that's sticking around with me. Oh, y'all making good points and you have good conversation. So Gordon Morris said Valentina has an iron chin and an iron torso. Rose kicked Whaley with the same leg that Whaley had attacked about a dozen times. Rose's inner thigh had a big strawberry. Your audio is in and out. Oh, okay. Um, it might be my connection. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back. Like I said, I'm gonna go back and look at that one round. I looked at it like a couple times, but yeah, I just want to look at every little aspect of it now. I just want to see like some of the um some of the moments that Whaley had with her kicks, like what doors could it had opened. I gotta go back and look. One Doug 62, what's up? He said, "Do you think maybe Antonina is holding back a bit so she doesn't climb the rankings so fast?" Valentina has said she would never fight her sister. I don't know. That's hard to say. Like, I, why would she hold? You know what I mean? Like, not asking you, like, but just myself. Like, I wonder why she would hold back. Because I mean, they would never make them fight if they didn't want to fight. So why not just climb the rankings as well? Like, I I wondered about that too. Like, why were they in the same division? Like, why were they in the same division? Like, why wasn't Antonina at 135 instead? I think she should have made her debut at 135 and stayed at 135. Because now, like you said, you slow down the process, but damn, you're gonna be taking L's and you're gonna be taking beatings. So that's weird. That would be weird. That would be weird that you would have to hold back just because your sister has the belt. I mean, of course, yeah, if you got the number 3 or number 4, like you're not gonna be a champion, so because you're not gonna fight your sister. So why what would be the purpose of fighting up the rankings? So that is something to look at. I mean, it is kind of crazy, ain't it? It is a little strange. Like, yeah, I think 135 would have been a nice home for Anthony. I mean, it's never too late. I mean, yeah, we're 36. Yeah, she's 36 now, so I don't know. Maybe she just wanted to see how far she could go as an MMA fighter. I don't know, but it works out like that sometimes. I mean, JoJo Barris, the Muay Thai fighter, she didn't do too good at MMA, but she's a great Muay Thai fighter. So, I don't know. So yeah, yo, let's see here. Uh, oh yeah, man. What do y'all think of that? Jin Kim. Jin Kim wanted to go to BKFC. That would be interesting, right? I mean, with the way she's looked at in her last performance, it's like a 50-50 to me because she didn't use her reach in a very good way. You know, Jin Kim, just in case y'all know, Jin Kim, she lost to Molly McCann a couple Saturdays ago, and she had voiced her opinion about going to BKFC next. And not a bad idea, you know, if you don't fare well in MMA, but she didn't really fare well as far as just in a boxing match with Molly McCann. You know, she didn't use her reach well. You know, I mean, maybe she was worried about other things like takedowns, but Molly McCann is a boxer. You know, Molly McCann's a boxer, so she should have been trying to jab and use that long reach, 10-inch reach advantage, and she still, you know, got bullied in some spots. So I don't know, Ji Kim in BKFC might be better because, yeah, like I said, you'll only be worried about hands, and you know she can just perfect her boxing game. And you know, if you get cut, I mean, there's always that option. So maybe she felt like if she lost this fight and she got cut, she could go to BKFC. But that's another video I want to talk about too. Like who in WMMA would fare well in BKFC? You know, that's another video I want to do because it seems like a lot of these women want to go there. You know, Molly might go over there. You know, Beck, she's been over there for a while. Well, nah, she's been over there, but she actually hasn't even fought for them in like 2 years. So who knows? Does Antonina cut weight to make 135? Yeah, yeah, she does. She cut some weight. She cut some weight. That's why I was like, man, she got the height. And during her downtime, like she doesn't look like a very. She doesn't really blow up, but for her height and her frame, 135 would be right. You know, I think 135 would be good for her because even at the weigh-in, sometimes face looks a little drawn in. To look a little drawn in, you know. So I don't know, man. Like to me, it would be better for her. George Handler, he said he thinks this is a hobby for Anthony. I could see that. I could see that. I mean, she's doing other things like she's going to flight school. She's got a pilot license and everything, and you know she's married and she's older, so you know she's kind of in a different place. You know, so maybe these are just fights for her. Yeah, because Valentina, it's life, man. It's life for her. You know, it's like you can't even compare the two, man. But they only share the name. Like no offense, like that ain't no disrespect, but I'm just saying they just share the name when they get in the, you know, when they're uh, in the same division. That's the only similarity they have, really, right? You know, I just think Valentina Shevchenko is in another mind state when she fights, and she's just on another level, man. Yeah. Good night, Robert. Good night, man. Thanks for sticking out the late edition. Um, Dana White Contender Series tomorrow. What's her name? Vicious versus Poliestri. I'm not sure yet. I seen like a little bit of them. I'm not sure. I'll watch the fight and I will do a video on it. And you know what? I'm gonna watch some fight. I'm gonna watch some of their fights tonight. I'm gonna watch some of their fights tonight. I don't have a pick yet, but I am gonna tune into it tomorrow morning. I am gonna watch it. I'll watch it and give my video, you know, my thoughts about it in the video. But let me do a little research tonight after I get off. Being a striker, Antonina might do better with power at bantamweight. I think so, very well. I think she could do very well with power at bantamweight. Like if she didn't cut the weight and if she fought more like Joanna on the balls of her feet, she would be better to me. You know, you got to move around. You can't be flat footed like, you know, Muay Thai fighter. You're going to get taken down constantly. You know, man, I just can't believe how Andrea Lee. Oh man, Andrea Lee just like, oh, whew, Andrea Lee just ragged out, dominated, took her apart, submitted her, made her tap. Man, that was crazy. Mojo said Andrea Lee handled it. Yeah, she did, man. I'm telling you, man. She did handle her convincingly, man. It was crazy. I ain't gonna lie. When that I said Antonina win that fight, but honestly, I was like, man, I don't know. I ain't putting no money on it. I don't know. I said Andrea Lee, she's got tools to beat her. Yeah, yeah, Mark. She's married to him. Yeah, that's her trainer. Yeah, yeah. How was? Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure is. But yeah, like before I wrap this, yeah, let's wrap this thing up. But yeah, like final thoughts going back to Valentina Shevchenko. Yeah, all day long, man. Like you know, she looks the part of a, in of a of a fighter that could go on and on and on. But you never know. Yeah, I always leave that open. I leave that window open because I've seen so many dominant champions meet their match, or maybe one fighter just has their number. I've seen that many a time in this game, and I think that Valentina does a good job of covering all bases. She does a good job of staying on her level and making her level, making a level of her own, Shevchenko level, and it's really going to come down to knowing when to leave, staying as long as you love the game. But of course, the longer you stay, you will lose, right? I think that's understandable. You stay too long, yeah, that's going to happen because Floyd Mayweather, he got out at the right time. He never lost, but eventually he would have lost, right? So it's all about knowing when to leave. But I think Valentina could get the 10, but it could get harder. It could get harder. I think it'll get harder than it will easier because you get older, your reflexes start to go. Um, and one of y'all made a point earlier. I think it was you, Mark. One of y'all Marks made a point earlier too, like with the game evolving, or it could have been Daniel. One of y'all did up there. With the game evolving and these fighters getting better tools, shoot, by the time Taylor, Manon, Miranda, Melissa Gatto, by the time these fighters get up there, shoot, their tools could be, they could be bringing something different to the table for Valentina. You never know, right? So I think it looks easy now because you got a lot of the fighters in there that are older, like Roxy, Caitlin, Lauren, Jennifer Maya. Well, I don't even count Jennifer Maya because she still has a lot of good skills. But fighters she dominated, like Jessica Andrade, all of those older fighters there, those seasoned fighters, they're kind of set in their ways, right? But I think, yeah, by the time some of these other ones like Manon, who's 31 and bringing experience and her own dominant style to the table, it's going to be an issue. It could be an issue for Valentine. You never know, because yeah, it will get harder. I think it will get harder. The older you get, it will get harder. It will get harder. That's another point I do believe strongly, because yeah, fighters will get better. Fighters will get smarter. They'll go back and look at what other fighters didn't do, and you start to slow down. Your reflexes start to go, and then boom, you meeting somebody who's might just look like your match now for a certain age. You know what I mean? At a certain point in your career. Gordon Morris said Andrea's cardio seemed improved since she trained at elevation. I think she'll get another finish versus. All right, it's possible. If the fight goes to the ground, I favor Jennifer. I favor Andrea Lee, but standing it'll be interesting, man. Because Jessica I, you can never count Jessica I out. Every time I bet against her, she won, man. So I'm not even bet on this fight. I'm not gonna do it, man. All right, so all right. So Andrew Lee's cardio. Okay. Yeah, at this point, these girls will have years of trying to figure out to take out Valentina. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The longer a fighter stays around, the more somebody out there is going to be obsessed. Like somebody's going to be obsessed, and they're going to be watching Valentina over and over and over. Because like yeah, the longer you stay around, the more fights are out there about the more fights are out there. You have more fights out there, and more people can figure you out. So there's always going to be a trainer. So yeah, trainer is a big part of it because there's going to be a trainer watching you. There's going to be one trainer out there studying Valentina all day long, and they're going to approach their fighter who has a few gifts, and they're going to be giving them jewels. You know what I mean? They're going to be giving them those gems to say, look, this is what Valentina does. This is how she slows down. This is how she drops her hand, or this is how she reacts to a right hand to the body, or this is how she reacts to a clinch. You know what I mean? So there's always going to be somebody out there studying her, because the more fights out there, the more holes are going to be shown, right? The more holes are going to be out there. So it's not going to be a mystery when you see her. Like when you're trying to find other little local fighters, you don't know much about them. But with Valentina, yeah, she's getting better and better. But the more and more tape, the more and more situations she's been put in, then boom, I got more stuff to study, right? You got more stuff to study. Yeah, I'm about to get up out of here too, Mark. Yeah, appreciate y'all coming through. Yeah, definitely catch up next time, just for sure. So yeah, that's pretty much I wanted to talk about tonight. Y'all made some good points, but yeah, like I always say, if y'all didn't tune into the live stream, or if you come up with anything else, just put it in the comment section and we'll talk about it. But yeah, I got to get up out of here now, guys. So yeah, shout out to everybody in the chat. Like always, hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up. I'll always come on and do these. That's what I always say. But yeah, guys, I'll be back on Wednesday because we got fights this week. It's fight week, so I got some fights to talk about. And I will watch Dana White's Contender Series tomorrow, and I'll try to cover that one WMMA fight on there. So yeah, guys, let me get up out of here. Thanks everybody coming through. Like always, Combo Breaker 99. Make sure y'all subscribe. I'm out. Peace.